So there's a common misconception that franchise businesses are less risky than non-franchise businesses. And I think this came out of some studies relating to loan default rates of the various types. But in the 2000s, the Small Business Administration did a study of the failure rates of franchisees and independent businesses and found that franchisees failed at a 6% higher rate than independent businesses. Now, of course, this does not apply to all franchises. There are some super successful franchise systems, but likewise, there are some really, really bad franchise systems. And a lot of times we'll encounter people who will say, hey, I'm getting in on the ground floor. But coming in on the ground floor is a little bit of a red flag because, as we talked about before, there are three important things that you need to get into being a franchise. And typically the ground floor means that they don't have one or two or even three of those things. So it's not a guarantee by any means. And it also depends on the personality of the franchisee. So and this is an area where you've just got to be honest with yourself. If you are a maverick, going into a franchise system is definitely not going to work for you because they have typically systems that they want you to follow. On the other hand, if you're capable and you don't find a lot of stress associated with following a corporate environment and doing the things that they found would make you successful, then a franchise is a great way to go. One of the areas that you want to look at when you go into a franchise is really what is the relationship between the franchisor and the franchisee. A lot of times you'll see that the franchisee is obligated to pay, a 6% royalty and a 2% advertising fee. And this is disclosed in the franchise disclosure document. What I like to do is to bring that down to the percentage interest. So if, for example, you have a business that should be making 20% net bottom line. So for every dollar you bring in, after you pay all the expenses, what you're going to do is get 20 cents to fall to the bottom line. If you're paying a franchisor a total of 8%, right, then you've got a 40% partner in your business because that's coming off the top, which means that your percentage bottom line is going to be 12% rather than the 20%. The other side of that is the advertising. When we look at advertising, a lot of times franchisees or prospective franchisees will say, well, that's going to go to advertising, so I'll get the benefit of that. It's not really a cost. And it's important to look at the FDD for this issue because what happens is a lot of times the franchisor is not obligated to spend that in a particular way. In fact, I'd say most of the time they're not obligated to spend in a particular way. So you're contributing to a general fund, and the franchisor can often spend that on general brand development and not necessarily bringing people into your location.